What's better than watching your team win? Winning money while you do it. I'm Jim Costa, and on Cash the Ticket, Mike Valeni and I give you the edge to make every game playable. College football, NFL, we're breaking it all down game by game. Your podcast feed is going to be filled, and you're going to love it. You can click on the games you care about. We do it all. With our analysis, we're finding games that other people aren't talking about. We're turning every Saturday and every Sunday into days where you got a chance to win. Don't just sit on the sidelines. Cash the Ticket with us. Follow Cash the Ticket in the free Odyssey app or wherever you get your podcasts.
Week 4 is here, and hopefully the 49ers can start to look like the 49ers again. I'm Sacco, and this is the 49ers Web Zone No Huddle podcast. We're part of the Odyssey Network, and we're ready to kick off Niners versus Pats with our guest. You can hear him on WEEI or his podcast, Six Rings and Football Things. He's Nick Fitzy Stevens. Nick, thanks for the time.
Al, thanks very much for having me today. And I got to say, right off the jump, you're killing me here because you're a 49ers podcast, which is, of course, the team
I know what you're going to say.
Grew up rooting for. Yeah. And then you got a Yankees hat on top of it. I mean, geez, Al, I know we're both hurting right now. We got two dinged up squads, that both sitting at 1 and 2. We each had dreams of being somewhere else at this point, although I'm thoroughly enjoying conversing with you right now on all things football. But still, you're trending up and I'm, trending Patriots. So,
yeah, well, I'm actually live in New York. So go figure. Somebody who lives in New York and does a Niners podcast. I'm not too far from Boston. So I have two things for you. One, Fitzy's a great Boston name. I mean, I talk about perfect. And two,
you can't walk into a bar. The whole reason why I adopted that, Al, was you can't walk into a bar anywhere in Boston, the South Shore, North Shore, wherever, and either just say, "Hey, Fitzy, Sully, Murph," and have at least one or two people turn around and go, "Yeah, what do you want?"
Yeah.
Al?
I was just going to say, I could be Sully today. Let's do that. You be Fitzy, I'll be Sully today.
And Murph is behind the glass producing.
And the second thing I wanted to say, when I was looking you up today, I saw you're a craft beer enthusiast. So am I. Huge into craft beer. Are you a Treehouse fan?
Oh, I mean, come on. Is Tom Brady the GOAT? Let's go.
There you go. Yeah, I mean, it's one of my favorites. That's maybe,
I
don't know,
really?
Maybe 2.5 hours for me, maybe, where I am. And I go, we're getting one. There's going to be one in Saratoga Springs pretty soon. So I'm pretty excited.
Yeah, listen, New York State, not that anyone that's listening who came here for a Patriots-Niners preview and a Behind the Enemy Lines peek wants to hear about my love of New York State breweries. But I'll go Prison City. I'll go Fiden's, all the good stuff.
Fiden's one of my all-time favorites. It's in my backyard. Yeah, I love it.
You're kidding. Oh, yeah. I have a feeling this is going to be the start of a beautiful relationship. And
I think so.
There may be something that men of our particular age do, which would be a hashtag beer swap in the near future.
And I'll tell you what, I think you said New York State and even Vermont, you go Alchemist, Fiddlehead, just the breweries here I think it's the best in the country. I really do. Anywhere. I know they Pliny the Elder out. I haven't never had it, but that's a big thing out in California. But
Pliny the Elder is still a top 5 beer that anyone who's listening that loves beer knows. If you've ever made your way out west, when I went out and covered Super Bowl 50 for CBS Sports on their website, I had my first and subsequently my second Pliny, and I have been chasing a beer that good ever since.
Really, it's that good.
Just
beautifully
balanced.
I've had people tell me they're going to send it to me, but apparently they can't mail the beer, so I've never gotten it. So until
apparently you have never you've never done the workaround of this box contains media mail. I'm just sending my friend
listening to the show.
I'm sending my friend books. These books happen to be 16 ounces of double dry hopped goodness, but and I'll tell you what, you have needed different kinds of beers over the last couple of years to celebrate. And I have needed commiseration beers, but they still serve the same purpose, which is getting us through the day.
And nobody's feeling bad for you, though, after 2 decades in 6 Super Bowls. But I wanted to get into that because the Patriots, even though they're rebuilding, they looked feisty the first couple of weeks. They win against the Bengals. They gave the Seahawks all they could handle, and then they absolutely looked atrocious in week 3 against the Jets. So do you think the team is closer to what we saw in the first 2 weeks, closer to what we saw in week 3, or maybe a little bit in between?
Yeah, I wish I could give you the appropriate talk radio answer of Stephen A. Smith, the dam's broken now, Al. The dam done broke, and the flood of pain and tears is coming the way of Foxborough, and they deserve it for letting the greatest head coach of all time, Bill Belichick, go. No, it's not going to be that, nor am I going to be here, thumping my chest, yelling week 1. They took the Bengals to the hill, and then they almost took the Seahawks to the hill. But, we'll just let the Jets game go because, teams are 3-24 against the spread after going to overtime on a Sunday on Thursday Night Football and whatever else. No, the Pats are back, baby. The sad reality is they're somewhere in between. They really are right now. They're going to be competitive in most every game this year, so long as the injuries and attrition don't pile up. Eventually, the kid is going to get his shot, and Drake May will make things far more interesting. He'll have a lower floor. He'll have a higher ceiling than Jacoby Brissett. The poor guy just, looks like an 85-year-old man getting out of a rocking chair every time he picks himself up off the field turf. He is taking a biblical beating at this point. And the offensive line is, and I look at Trent Williams and I just have envy and lust in my eyes because, but my kingdom and all of my craft beers in the garage right now, just for a serviceable left tackle. But the Pats, they're not poorly coached. They're not poorly coordinated. They lack talent. You guys are the ultimate example of what happens when you marry up a good scheme and good coaching and proper fundamentals with elite blue chip level talent. Good things happen. And this is the way things used to work around here. Now the Patriots are a very scrappy, barroom brawling, blue collar, utilitarian workforce team that is just going to have to go out every week and challenge teams to a bar fight. And hopefully they hang in there long enough that they can walk home, usually with a bloody shirt, maybe missing a tooth, but with their pride. They're never going to light up the scoreboard. They're never going to do anything sexy, fantasy football, flashy. They'll be in it, but you're looking at a lower third, bottom tier team for sure.
So are you good with May sitting right now just because you don't want to put him behind that offensive line? Or do you think if they lose again this week is maybe week 5, the time to get May in? When do you think the right time to kind of put him in the lineup is?
It doesn't seem as though there's a proper first time for anybody's parachute not to open or to just be thrown literally, like I've never been to Europe. Oh, come on, let's go run with the Bulls in Pamplona. Like I thought I'd just go see Big Ben or the Eiffel Tower.
Yeah.
The Pats offensive line is so legendarily bad. Let me throw a couple quick stats at you. They're second in the league in quarterback pressures. Brissett and the Patriots have led the NFL in quarterback pressures and knockdowns 2 of the first 3 weeks of the season. And right now, you'll understand why the Patriots pursued your boy, who's been rather disappointing so far, but he's going through an extended, well-compensated preseason, in Brandon Ayuk. The receivers are so bad, or at least the offensive line is so bad, and Brissett is so adverse that they're on pace to throw for 960 yards to all of the wide receivers combined this season. So as far as I'm concerned, even though it would be miserable to put him in there right now, and you may get the kid demolition junkyard crushed, I can't see him in there soon enough. But it's such a risk reward proposition to do because you do, I know everyone looks to the whole David Carr mess from way back in the early 2000s with the Texans, and he just got sacked into oblivion and lost his way and his ability. My podcast co-host Andy Hart often says, you can't break a diamond. And if your blue chip is really diamond quality, then all the physical abuse and QB hurries that he takes won't affect him in the long run. But I fear for the kid's life. Did you see of those 8 dropbacks that he had against the Jets, the 2 hits that he took? Holy smokes.
Yeah.
Oh.
You don't want to put your future behind that. I totally get that. And you look at Brissett's stats, like you said, he's got 42 completions and 368 yards in 3 games. It's atrocious. But I look at the Patriots skill position players, and I almost don't think they're as bad as what they seem. I like Pop Douglas a lot. I think he's a good player. I think he could be with the right system and the right quarterback. You have Polk in there, and Stevenson's a good running back, and the Niners have had issues stopping the run. We know they can't pass protect, but can the Patriots get enough push up front to maybe, get the Niners on their heels in the running game a little bit?
See, I think there's a chance, and this may be, if there is no ideal situation for a team or ideal time for a team of the Patriots talent level to go take on a team like the 49ers, except maybe and or if the Niners are as banged up as they are and the Patriots have a week and a half to prepare. Aaron Rodgers said everybody before the Pats game Thursday night, he said, everybody hates Thursday night football, at least from a player perspective. But then when it's done, you love the extra couple of days off. So the Pats definitely need that extra time to game plan. They need that time to rest up. They need that time for Gerard Mayo to, be indecisive about the quarterback position and reveal a couple new catchy phrases and murals at the stadium. It's probably the best time for the Patriots to try to pound the ball, go toe to toe with the Niners and hang in there. Because I think on a lot of other weeks, I think what the water levels would would just be so disparate that the 49ers would if you guys were at max health, I think the Niners would probably flood out the Patriots. But like in any game that they're going to be in, it's not about the Patriots rising up to play at the level of their opponent, but rather dragging their opponent down to their level until the opponent escapes, like Seattle did in week 2. And in week 1, as we saw, Cincinnati, an absolutely brutal start to the season.
Yeah.
And, they're just notoriously bad the first week. So, yeah, I think they'll be able to run the ball a little bit. You guys are giving up like 4.5 yards a carry. They'll definitely run the ball a little bit, but I fear Ramondre's put the ball on the carpet 3 times and he's lost 1. It was literally taken out of his hands by Chuck Clark from the Jets. So I fear 2 big fears I have for the Pats with their inability to sustain drives is that, one, Ramondre is going to be so damn tired. He's going to put the ball on the ground every week or every other week just because he is the offense.
Right.
And 2, we've already seen our middle linebacker, Juwan Bentley, go down. Other guys like Keon White, Jabril Peppers have been dinged up. If the defense is spending 39 to 42 minutes on the field for every 60-minute football game, because Brissett goes 3 and out, 4 and out, the injuries are going to start piling up. So they got to find a way to control that clock and ground and pound.
I know it's tough to tell because the Pats are rebuilding. I mean, Kyle Shanahan only won 10 games in his first 2 seasons, but what do you think of Mayo so far? Do you think he's going to be the right coach for this team? Do you think he was a good hire?
I think he certainly knows football. Coming out of the week 1 win in Cincinnati, Brissett and most of the players said that, they all said they would run through a brick wall for him, that they love him, that he knows his lingo, and that they appreciate the fact that he relates to each person individually. He's a high energy, good vibes guy, and he knows the game. And the way he said it would play out is the way that it played out. I'd be curious to know if he told everybody like, hey guys, guess what? We're going to go down to North Jersey Thursday night and get our asses whooped. So get ready for that. Get ready. It's going to be a good time. Al Michaels is going to fall asleep in the third quarter like the rest of America. I think he's going to be a good coach. The question mark, and I think the defensive coordinator, DeMarcus Covington, who studied under him and was Bill Belichick's D-line coach for a couple of years, is also going to be good. People in the area, though, regionally have their questions about Alex Van Pelt, who hadn't really ever been hadn't called a play in plays except for when Stefanski had COVID and when he worked as an OC a decade and a half ago. Other people would like somebody flashier, like Zach Robinson in Atlanta, and it's not like he's got the Falcons offense high flying right now, or Cliff Kingsbury, but he's working with somebody a really good prospect and a more talented team with Jaden Daniels, who went off the other night down in Washington. I think Van Pelt is very conservative, and the way that they're trying to draft and bring along Drake May, it makes sense. I don't care what kind of offense AVP runs, as long as Drake May is prepared to play quarterback. If he can do 80% for him what Dayball did with Josh Allen, then I'll be good with AVP and Mayo.
I'm curious where the fans are with the Belichick thing, because clearly he did a terrible job as a general manager. I mean, you just look at the roster right now, and some of his coaching hires were also atrocious, especially on the offensive side of the ball.
Well, he would take every friend of his that was still getting paid by another team, like Matt Patricia, Joe Judge, like, hey, you're still on someone else's payroll and you're a friend of mine who will bend the knee. Come on down. You're the next.
Come coach offense. Give offense a try.
Yeah, sure.
It's kind of comical.
A reverse engineered offense. Yeah.
Were people in New England ready to move on from him, or was it kind of like, really, you're going to get rid of Belichick? Or, all right, thank you, but it's run its course.
One of the things, my primary role, I feel like, on the podcast, on the radio, and with the work that I actually do with the team as a game day host in stadium and beyond, is just trying to keep my finger on the pulse of Pats fans and how they feel about certain matters. And this has been the latest ever since Brady left. Like, everyone universally agreed that was one of the worst decisions of all time, as well as the Patricia decision a few years ago. But over the last couple of years, there have been all of these, I call them they're like little fissures or chasms. I call them like little micro civil wars. And we've had the Belichick ruined Mac Jones. No, Mac Jones ruined himself because he's a pain in the ass. Patricia actually is too smart to have sucked that bad. Actually, no, he never should have called plays. And the latest one that's been lingering now for almost a year has been the whole like Belichick's got to go. You'll never find a better coach. He deserves to write his own exit and check. Yeah, but at the same time, look at the brutal rosters that he's built. And I maintain that as we've had all of these little online and tailgate and, cheap seats related arguments between Pats fans, I maintain that no, you'll never find anyone who understands the game better than Bill Belichick. I mean, look at Kyle Shanahan, the second Belichick, consciously uncoupled or mutually separated from Kraft and the Pats. Shanahan was on the phone like, would you like to come coach defense for me?
Yeah.
And Belichick was like, nah, it's all right. I'm just going to go work for Underdog Fantasy. Thanks. Then I'm going to hang out with my 24-year-old girlfriend on Nantucket and do 25 other shows with Peyton Manning, which is weird, but okay, to each his own. He deserves his victory lap. No one knows football better than he does, but I truly believe that the Pats moved on from him, not because of his lack of football acumen or preparation, but just because they wanted to get rid of the GM, Bill Belichick, so badly that they were willing to sacrifice the greatest coach ever.
And I feel like teams were scared to hire him because they didn't want GM Bill Belichick. That's the only reason that makes sense that he's not coaching right now. And we had Phil Perry on the show. Oh God. It was 2017 because it was after the
Phil is first of all, Phil Perry is a gentleman, a scholar, and a saint. And he's an infuriating human being because people shouldn't be that handsome, that smart, that nice, and love craft beer like you and I do, Al. I love Phil.
He was great. Yeah. I was glad that even at the time we had just started, I was thrilled he even came on our show at the time. But I asked him off air, I said, listen, is it Belichick or Brady? What do you think this is? And he said at the time, and I hope he doesn't mind me saying this, not that he's ever going to listen to the show, but he said, we talk about it a lot amongst, the people who cover the Patriots.
Lot.
He goes, and this was 2017. So granted, you're talking 7 years ago, but he said, I think it's Belichick. And looking now, at the time, I did not agree with him. I said, I think it's Brady. I think Belichick's a great defensive coach, but when you have a quarterback like that, it makes it go. And 7 years later, I think it's been proven right that Bill would have had his success anyway, I think, but Tom just puts you just so far over the top. Just look at what he did going to Tampa. He changed that whole culture. So I guess I'll ask you that question. Hindsight's 2020, but if you could have one of them back or you give one of them the credit, what would you say looking back at that dynasty? Would you take Bill or Tom?
Well,
I know that's a tough question, and maybe it's sacrilegious
it's okay.
in Boston.
I don't mind. I just wish I came prepared with an alcoholic beverage or two to answer that, or to drown my sorrows afterward. The beer fridge is never far away. You say hindsight's 2020, and then I think 2020, like, oh yeah, the rest of the world remembers that as the year that we all shut down for over a year. I remember that as when Tom Brady left Pats Nation and broke my heart. And on St. Patrick's Day, too, ruining one of Boston's favorite holidays on top of it all, Al.
Sully's pissed. Murph is pissed.
Sully, Murph, and Fitzy, they've never... Dude, we can't put it in our rear view. We've never been the same since.
This is so hard to take. It's so hard, dude, Tommy.
The heartbreak was just... I was inconsolable. All my local Packies got drained dry, guy. It's hard. It's hard. I still, it's not that I refuse to say which one it was. It's just that it's so difficult to sort of, pick one. Like they worked in such brilliant, evil, maniacal concert with one another. Like they were so right for each other. They were both so dedicated, so super smart, so psychopathic in their devotion to winning, to overcoming the odds, to finding an extra competitive edge, to beating you, to just being great. And I love how brilliantly successful, how evil and spectacular they were together. But if you have to, if it comes down to picking one or the other, I'd probably say 60-40. It was Brady. He'll tell you I'm not who I am. Well, first without Mo Lewis, and 2 days ago we celebrated the 23rd anniversary of Mo Lewis Day. Much as I loved Drew Bledsoe at the time, that man's one hit on Drew Bledsoe on September 23rd, 2001 changed everything in the NFL, changed the lives of literally tens of millions of people. But the Belichick is incredible, a generational talent, and maybe the greatest defensive mind of all time, one of the greatest coaches. He himself would tell you Paul Brown is the greatest coach of all time, followed by Vince Lombardi, and then he's in the mix. But they'll never, Tom Brady, Mahomes is so physically gifted, and he's only now coming to learn defenses and be smarter and better about it. But Brady's will and Brady's drive which is just, he was the tide that raised all boats. You can come up with the greatest plan in the world. You can write the greatest menu. If you don't have a chef that can cook it and then be a great front of house, then your restaurant doesn't matter a squad of hot sauce in the first place. So I come down on Brady, and I just wish Brady, now that he's back in our lives once again, would be half as Tom Brady in the booth as he was when he was on the field. Put it this way.
He might get there. Get there.
He's going to week 5. He's actually going to get the call. Give him time as well. He didn't burst onto the scene the way Romo did with Romo's, predictive text style of calling games. It's Joe Davis and Greg Olson on the call this week, which is probably good. But week 5, when Miami and that banged up roster comes to town, which is maybe when Drake May will finally start.
It's Brady's a great spot for him. Yeah,
it is.
All right, I'll tell you what, we got to get Odyssey to get us together and do a craft beer show or something. We got to figure something out. So get something going. We'll talk beers, man.
I would love to as well. And listen, I know this week is probably ticket. I would do that. I would do that in a heartbeat, Al. Absolutely. I do. I even have a beer review Instagram and YouTube channel where I review beers and breweries with one of the guys, Rich Keefe, my buddy, who does the midday show at WEEI. We call it the Pint Club. I gotta have you on. We should do an IG live.
Absolutely.
And do a beer sampling sometime.
Yeah, I'll get some Fidens or something good, and we'll talk about it, man. Absolutely.
I'll send you some vitamin C and some Treehouse back, and life will be good, because I'll probably need it after. I'm dying to see, by the way, this Sunday. Without Debo, obviously Christian McCaffrey is visiting Ashley Manning's specialist over in Germany this weekend to get his Achilles tendinosis diagnosed. They have probably some sweet stem cells over there.
Yeah, a blood transfusion or whatever the hell he's doing over there.
Well, he's probably hitting up a couple Oktoberfest, and he'll get some stem cell. He should. Prost. You know what? Prost, McCaffrey. Live your best life, kid.
100%.
I'm big in on Brock Purdy. I still think the secondary can be had, and yes, you guys can get run on as well. Although Bosa may feed something wicked this Sunday. I'm just curious who's going to be the receiver that picks the Pats apart, because obviously Ayuk may be the guy that they'll put Christian Gonzalez on, but I gotta tell you, I've been so impressed with Juwan Jennings, and this is before he went off after that Super Bowl he had. I said, watch, this kid is going to be the best receiver on the Niners next year. This guy's got it.
Well, it's interesting because I think Brock's playing really well. Minnesota gave him a tough time, but Minnesota is giving everyone a tough time right now, and his numbers were still decent.
B-Flow's defenses are awesome.
Oh, he's been great. Just his scheme confuses people. It's been phenomenal. But I thought Purdy played great last week, and I thought he played really well against the Jets. He's starting to get a connection with Jennings. And Jennings, the past, when you go back to the playoffs and early in the season, he's really probably been their most consistent receiver. If Kittle's back, that's going to make a big difference because he'll be in the game plan. Ayuk just isn't himself yet. There have been some plays, like he was open for a deep shot towards the end of the Rams game that Purdy didn't throw for whatever reason. In week 2, Purdy was a little late on a throw in the end zone to him. If he catches those 2 balls, people are maybe thinking differently about him. But overall, he's been a little bit rusty. If they do put Gonzalez on him, which they probably will, it may be another game where Ayuk has 2 or 3 catches. And I think you're going to see, again, a lot of Juwan Jennings, a lot of him spreading the ball around. And if Kittle's back, I see Kittle having a big game. And they missed Kittle in the run game last week. If they have him back, Jordan Mason, I think, is going to do really well too.
Yeah, he's a powerhouse back as well. And if Kittle is back, and having watched the receiver series on Netflix, George Kittle skyrocketed to the top 10 athletes, celebrities, anybody's I would love to absolutely just rip a couple beers with any given night.
Yeah, he's great. Awesome. Yeah. He's good for the game. So, all right, Fitzy, we appreciate it, man. Appreciate the time. And yeah, we're looking forward to talking to you again, man.
I think it's going to be a great game on Sunday. It's 10.5 right now. 10-point game. It'll go 4 quarters. The dub goes to the Niners. We get another moral victory, and on goes the rebuild.
Yeah, take the Niners on the money line, and maybe the Pats with the points. So, all right, Fitzy, good luck this weekend.
Cheers, Al. Thank you.